Awesome, that's great.
Day before yesterday.
Hey,
Say hello to my grandmother.
oh, this is for Annette. Hi, Annette.
Yeah, really.
Miss you.
I swear to God.
Where are you?
I thought you were talking about that grandmother. I'm walking in and I'm going, what the hell is Annette doing out of the hospital?
Just like her.
Yep.
Hey, where is she?
Hi, Annette. Hey.
Hey.
Hope you're having a good time. We're having a good time. See you later.
Silverware from
All right, I'm gonna go.
You all right?
This is for my grandmother.
Yes.
Since she can't be here today, so
Good.
any messages?
We met in the hospital when Max was there.
Yeah, no, I remember you for sure. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jane.
Yeah. All right,
How you
great.
doing? That's okay.
Doing good. So if you have any messages for Nana, for Annette.
Annette. Oh.
Yeah, I mean.
Annette, honey, we are walking around with you, giving you lots of hugs. Unfortunately, they're a little vacant right now, so we'll have to do that on the way home.
Definitely.
Or stop at the hospital another
Cool.
time.
Yeah.
She's at Benny.
Yeah, same floor. Yeah,
Benny is
same
a
place. Yeah, you're very familiar with the place.
I know, I was there myself
Yeah.
for 3 weeks. So.
Yeah.
Oh dear, well good.
Yeah, we stopped by today. She's doing good. Got a big black eye. So it's kind of weird to see her
Max
like
hit her
that.
again, huh? Jesus, what is
Good
wrong?
guy.
They investigated that too.
Yeah.
Did. Well, you know, it's not impossible, especially with a lot of elders.
It's a whole
that
category
happens,
now.
Yeah.
With elder
Elder
abuse.
abuse, yeah.
Elder abuse. Ooh.
Yeah, isn't that awful? I know, hideous.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go record some more stuff.
Good.
Let me think about it. You think about it? Well, I don't know. I just. Oh boy.
Just say, I don't know. We're rolling whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, we're rolling. Okay.
Yeah.
I just really wish he was here. And
Yeah.
that you are here, Annette. So
Yeah.
we'll pretend that you're in this camera, which
Yeah.
is highly unlikely. But anyway, and
It's really tricky to run out on your party, isn't it?
and boy, we could tell at the book group that you were not feeling so great.
Oh, wow, that is reason.
I'm really sorry that it got worse rather than better immediately.
We'll have to come back now, especially now that we've swum in the pond.
Oh, yeah.
We swam in the pond. We didn't see the carp though.
Ah, they're in there.
You've seen them?
Groucho and Harpo and Zeppo.
Oh, they actually have names.
Well, that's what Laura said. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe Laura named them.
Maybe I'm
She said
thinking.
they're all
Annette,
sterile.
do you know the name?
Okay. Okay.
We were in attack.
Mother, I'm doing a little.
Now I'm going to see her tonight.
All right.
You can just put it on me and I'll tell her that.
Okay. See you tonight.
Okay, see you tonight.
I found very.
So, if you can stay in Brooklyn, you end up having just sort of a more.
Yes.
Is there any more ice?
Don't start crying.
No, because I just said hi to Max. So.
All right, so here we go. Now
Okay.
we're live.
Here we are, live,
Right,
rolling.
Okay, Annette, we're here. We miss you. We love you. And l'chaim.
Very nice.
Come home
All right,
soon.
be well.
Very nice.
You're doing little testimonials?
I am.
No, that's
Here,
excellent.
check
What
it
a
out.
great
Let's do
idea.
this.
Oh, no.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh. Hey, Nana. What's up?
This is my husband. At least you understand.
Hello, all.
Hello, Michael. Are you going to take
Hey, Michael.
Well, this is for my grandmother since she can't be here.
Yes. Okay.
Figured if you guys have any messages, now's the time.
Is that a video camera?
It is.
Annette, you can see that Mary and we are still talking. This is good. We never shut up once we see each other.
Yes, it's true. Hi, sweetheart. We're
miss
thinking of
you.
you the whole time, of course.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's really lovely that you're doing this, Michael.
Well, it was mandated.
Look this way.
Which way? Oh, this way. Let me get too many people. David, are you ready? Here. Let me take your picture.
Nick, there's some setting in here that makes it go fast. Family picture. Review this thing after the shot.
Is there? I have no idea what it is.
Say hi to Nana.
Do you know how to do that, Michael?
Which?
When you...
Rock and roll.
Wait, Vicky, I didn't get you in there. Okay.
She calls you Vicky.
Of course you called
Right. You said I was the only person that called you Vicky.
Vicky?
fat and shame.
Sorry.
You said I'm the only person that calls you Vicky, and that's why you called me when that whatever.
Far to dodge. It's
Right.
I really hope Hillary not what I like her, because if she becomes president, she's probably worth
Move out.
the value of my house may go up a little bit.
Right.
I'm going to be very broke, very
Okay.
driven about it.
Music put together, Michael.
Yeah, come on.
Somebody.
Where you going?
I want you guys to eat.
Sorry. I'm gonna eat something. Good idea. I'm going now.
I don't want to eat. I'll eat later.
No, you want you to have something to eat.
No, I ate something. Didn't I eat something?
No, I don't know.
No, I.
David, step back a foot, would you? Thank you.
Get out of the way.
You think this is a video moment?
It's thrilling. There's no Sam Adams.
He loves to do this.
You know, there's so many people. You sit down over there until I call you. You know, there's so many people that I have to thank for this wonderful, I hope that you agree that it's wonderful. And
Max,
I hardly know
Max,
what.
it's fair.
What?
It's fair.
Fair, okay. I hardly know where to begin. But first, I want to thank Mother Nature. You can't imagine how we agonized over how we were going to do this.
Max, didn't Maurice arrange this?
Maurice has lots of influence, but hey, I don't think he does very well with Mother Nature. But you know, 12 o'clock last night, Laura and Lisa and I were still debating, should we do this? Should we have it? We made arrangements to have it down at the firehouse if necessary, and because the weather reports were so terrible. As a matter of fact, we came home and our son-in-law, David, got on the computer and it was just a terrible, terrible forecast. But so we are so fortunate. But I also want to thank so many people who helped to make this affair. Let me start with our grandchildren, Eva and Michael, and our son-in-law, David, by the way, who painted those portraits.
That's your 15 seconds of fame, David.
And our wonderful caterer, Susie. And with Michaela and Reva and their cousin. What's her name? Hannah.
Yes, yes.
This is a major performance there.
And I know I'm leaving people out, but I This has been a difficult, kind of intense time for us in the last month or so. As some of you know, I was in the hospital for a week, and evidently I was lucky to come out of there alive, what they told me. And then it was a recovery period, and now with Annette's problem. And I don't know how we would have gotten through this if it wasn't for our children. I just don't know how to express my thank you to them and how wonderful they've been. And I don't want to slight Lisa at all, because she certainly has been such a wonderful help to us. But if it weren't for Laura, I don't think we would have gotten through this. And I don't know how I can properly thank her, but I want her to know that. Well, so much for that. But also, I want to thank all of you for being here. This is so wonderful for you to come here. You know, Annette, when we got the responses to our invitation, Annette said, you know, I never expected so many people to say they were coming, but I said, Annette, don't you realize so many of these people owe us money? You know, and as far as our two favorite politicians, well, we've contributed tens of thousands of dollars to their campaigns, you know. And so, hey, that's a good way to get a crowd together. But Annette said, you know, it's so wonderful to know that we've made so many friends here in Ulster County in the years that we lived here, and it certainly is, and something we appreciate so greatly to have known all of you, many of you, for many, many years, and we hope that our relationship will continue for many years to come. And what we're going to do now is we're going to present to you a theatrical production. Not too many years ago, when SUNY New Paltz had what the Summer Repertory Theater, I had the opportunity to participate in two of their productions. And one of them was a program of 3 one-act plays, and written by, what's his name, Robert Anderson. Robert Anderson, who was a very successful Broadway playwright, and I think famous for many of his shows that he did, including Tea and Sympathy. And at one of our gatherings we had here, Annette and I read this play. Well, unfortunately, Annette can't be here tonight. And besides, she wouldn't have been able to read it even if she were here. But we enlisted the help of our dear friend and that wonderful actress, one of the grand dames of the theater here in Ulster County, Adele.
Well, now you can come forward.
Now let me set the scene. These are two elderly people, and I want you to use your imagination. Not for Adele, but for me, or the other way around. And they are sitting in rocking chairs on their porch, and the man is bird watching. And he says, "Baltimore Oriole, bobolink, rose-breasted grosbeak. Ooh, a black-billed cuckoo. Grace, I just saw a black-billed cuckoo.
My name is Muriel, foolish old man.
Oh, I know your name is Muriel. That's what I called you.
You called me Grace. Grace was your first wife.
I called you Muriel. You're just hard of hearing and won't admit it. Grace. That's what I said.
There, you said it.
What?
Grace, you called me Grace.
Oh, silly old woman, you call me Harry, so I call you Grace.
Can't you hear yourself?
What?
I said, can't you hear yourself?
Of course I can hear myself. It's you that can't hear. I say you call me Harry sometimes, your second husband, and sometimes George, your first.
I never did. You're saying that because you call me Grace, and once in a while, Mary.
You just don't hear.
What's my name?
Silly question. Muriel. You're Muriel. Grace was my first wife, and Mary, oh, that was way long ago.
Mary was before Grace.
No, she wasn't.
She was.
I should know who my first wife was. God damn it, woman.
That's safe. Just call me woman. We won't get confused. It's not very flattering, but it's better than being called the names of your other wives. My name is Muriel. Your name is Harry.
Did you hear? You called me Harry. Pot calling the kettle black.
You got me confused, that's all. You always could mix me up. Back then when we were going to Europe.
We never went to Europe. That was Harry.
You and I went to Europe?
We did not. Grace and I went to Europe on our honeymoon. That's when I had money, before women took it all.
I have been to Europe with you.
You and Harry went to Europe.
I went to Europe with George, too.
Yes? Well, I'm Herbert.
We've never been to Europe.
Singly, but not together.
I think we have. You've forgotten.
I have a perfectly good memory.
You can't even remember my name. You and I were in Venice together. You're ashamed to remember because of the scandalous good times we had. You loved me then.
I didn't love you when you were in Venice having a scandalous good time with whichever one it was, George or Harry. Which was it?
It was you.
I've never been to Venice in my life.
Yesterday, you said you've never been to Chicago, and I proved you wrong on that one. Your second daughter by your first wife died there. We went to her funeral.
Grace?
The daughter's name?
No, Grace's girl.
Grace wasn't your first wife. Mary was.
Were you there? I tell you, one was enough. Two was more than plenty. I don't know what got into me to try it a third time.
You were sick, and you were too tight to hire a nurse. So you married me.
Huh. I got well. Why didn't I kick you out? Oh, now don't cry. You know I didn't mean it. You were always crying. Cried buckets at our son's wedding. Took on something awful.
We didn't have any children. And I don't cry. That was Mary. I'm Muriel.
No, it's no wonder that I'm confused. Which I'm not. You all the time saying Grace, Mary, Muriel.
I'm just trying to straighten you out.
What difference does it make? I answer when you call me Bertie.
I never called you Bertie. I maybe once or twice called you Harry when I woke up sudden like and didn't know where I was, but I never knew a Bernie.
Bernie.
Never heard of him.
He'd be pleased to hear that.
Who was he?
You were carrying on with him when I met you,
I was married to Harry when you met me.
and carrying on with Bernie, but he cleared out.
That must have been Grace.
You were carrying on with Grace?
No. Grace must have been carrying on with Bernie.
Grace wasn't married before. I was her first.
Not married, carrying on.
She was married to Harry and carrying on with Bernie.
You said she wasn't married before.
No, you were.
What day of the week is it?
What's that got to do with it?
You can't remember anything, senile old man. Bernie Walters.
Well, that's him. Who? Bernie Walters.
Never heard of him.
You just said his name.
Well, you've been saying it for an hour. I'm just repeating it.
You said Bernie Walters.
I said I'd never heard of him, and besides, I wasn't married to Harry when I met you. It was George. If I'd been married to Harry, I wouldn't have looked at you. Fine, strapping man. Oh, may he rest in peace. I'd be down in Venice.
You see, it was Harry in Venice.
Of course it was Harry in Venice.
But you said it was me.
You? Huh. You wouldn't have it in you to do a thing like that.
What? A thing like what?
Don't be jealous of a dead man. I've done my best to forget him, George. Like I promised when I married you.
I'm Herbert.
Do you keep repeating it so you won't forget it?
You called me George just now.
A hearing aid's a cheap thing.
Now, see here, Grace.
I'm Muriel.
You talk about me. What about you? Muriel. I'm Muriel.
Cuckoo.
Where? Well, I couldn't call you Grace. Grace was soft and gentle and kind.
Why'd you leave her then?
I didn't. She died.
Mary died. Your first wife. You got sick of Grace and left her and married me.
Left Grace for you?
Yes, you silly old man.
All wrong. Grace was my darling.
She drove you crazy.
My first love.
Mary.
Mary drove me crazy.
She was your first love. You've told me often enough. The two of you young colts prancing about in the nude.
Mary?
Yes.
I never saw Mary naked. That was her trouble. She was a good woman.
That was Grace.
Oh, Grace I saw naked. Oh, how naked. There was never anyone nakeder.
You can only be naked. You can't be more or less naked.
Oh, you didn't know Grace.
Mary, I did know Grace.
Naked?
Keep a civil tongue in your head.
I never saw you naked.
No, and not likely to. What'd be the point? You couldn't do anything about it.
Oh, that's what you think.
You married me at 70, and you were through then, except for dreaming.
You're lying. We had some good goes together down by the beach.
You and I were never near a beach, and you were never near me in that way.
Old women forget. Forget the joys of the flesh. Now, why is that?
I never forget Bernie.
Who?
Bernie Walters,
Never heard of him.
my second husband. I was married to him when Harry came along, but Harry went away and then you came along. A long time after. Platonic marriage, that's what you've had with me, George. But it's all right.
Platonic? Under the willow tree that June?
What willow tree?
Oh, I've been good to you, Mary, for all your carping and your falling off in your old age. Because I remember that willow tree. Muriel never knew about it. Oh, we were wicked.
If I thought you knew what you were talking about, I'd get mad, but I know you're just babbling. Babbling Bernie, that's what Herbert used to say. How can you listen to him babble?
I'm Herbert.
If it makes you feel more secure, go on, reminding yourself.
You called me Bernie.
Oh, sure. And you've never been to Chicago.
I have so. I went there when my daughter died.
I'm glad you admit it.
Why shouldn't I admit it? It's so. You just try to confuse me with Bernie and Harry and George and Grace and Mary.
You started a long time ago, Slipping. Only then you were more honest about it. Very touching. When we went to Florida and you gave me the tickets and said, Grace, my mind's slipping, take care of the tickets.
Your name is Muriel.
Yes, Lovey, my name's Muriel.
You refer to yourself as Grace.
Oh, very likely, very likely.
You said I gave you the tickets to Florida and said, Grace, my mind's slipping.
Well, it was.
I've never been to Florida.
Ho, ho! Well, let's not go into it. What about the pongee suit?
I never owned a pongee suit.
You said it was the same suit you wore when you married Helen, and we had a long discussion about how ironic it was that you were wearing the same suit to run away with me.
Who the hell is Helen?
You were married to her, silly.
I was running away to Florida with you, and I was so old and my mind was slipping, and I couldn't remember the tickets.
Lovey, you're running a lot of things that happened at different times all together now. Maybe you should just sit quietly for a while, Harry, till you get straightened out.
Damn it, my name is Herbert.
That's right. We'll start from there. You're Herbert, and I'm Grace.
You're Muriel.
That's right. Now, let's leave it at that now, or you won't sleep tonight.
Oh, I always sleep.
A fortune for sleeping pills.
I never had one in my life.
And you've never been to Chicago either, I suppose.
Never. Why should I have gone to Chicago?
Only because our daughter died there and we went to the funeral.
We had no children together.
I think we shouldn't talk about it anymore. You're getting confused.
You never let me near your lily white body.
Ho, ho! And what about that afternoon under the willow tree? I think that's when we conceived Ralph.
Who is Ralph?
Your stepson. Good God.
We conceived my stepson under the willow tree?
I'd prefer if we just remained quiet for a while. You can't follow a train of thought for more than a moment, and it's very tiring trying to jump back and forth with you. Just close your eyes and rest. Are your eyes hurting you?
No.
That medicine must be very good then.
What medicine?
You see what I mean?
I never had any medicine for my eyes.
Yes, all right. Let's not argue, George.
God damn it, I'm Harry.
Yes. All right. We'll just hold hands here and try to doze a little and think of happier days.
Venice.
Yes. Oh, yes. Wasn't that lovely? And you were so gallant. Although slightly shocking.
The beach.
The willow tree.
You running around naked. Oh, lovely, lovely.
Yes. Lovely.
Thank you.
for Annette, our lovely, dearest friend.
We love Annette.
So now we have our neighbor and good friend, Larry Bush, who would like to do a reading from one of his books. Larry, where are you?
Right here. Thanks for the intro. Unexpected. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Larry Bush, by the way, is the editor of a wonderful magazine called Jewish Currents, and which is published in New York City. He's also the author of various books and stories, and a good friend and a good addition to the political spectrum in our country.
Right.
And went to day camp at Shade's Hotel.
And I went to Chase. Merrily I rolled along.
He was there when his mother was a baby.
So that's the point. Weren't we all? You know, there's something about the crowd that, like, all these people whose faces I know and I don't know your name is just a testament to how I haven't been active enough. Because, you know, if I'd been active enough, I would know you all. So I can read this poem knowing the crowd I'm in. The poem began years ago, and it was called at the time After the Revolution. And I began walking around talking to friends and acquaintances about, so what should happen after the revolution? It's easy to be a critic. It's harder to envision what the alternative should be. As I got more involved in the Jewish progressive world, the poem moved from After the Revolution to When Mashiach Comes, Mashiach being Messiah. The vision of Messiah in Jewish tradition is very interesting because it's very vague. And there's this sense that kind of anybody could be the prophet Elijah, anybody could be the herald of the Messiah, anybody could be the Messiah. So there's this kind of, in that coyness, there's this sense of, so treat everybody as though they might be the one, the Redeemer. So After the Revolution became When Mashiach Comes, and I wanted to read that in honor of Max and Annette. When Mashiach comes, the Pentagon will be a post office. The president will be in therapy at least once a week. The average American will speak 3 languages when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, the national anthem will be a jazz standard. The White House will be redecorated as the Rainbow Room. We'll proudly fly the flag when Mashiach comes. People will often ask, what day is today? It'll be fun to stand in line. We'll all have Bloomingdale's credit cards when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, fuck you will be a friendly greeting. High school kids will be taught to be attentive lovers. Tampons and sanitary napkins will be free when Mashiach comes. Those who rape will be taught by men to weep. Those who steal will be given what they want. Those who abuse will be held with loving arms when Mashiach comes. How shall we get rid of our dismantled nuclear weapons? Who should be the first inducted into the Hall of Outstanding Gay Americans? How will we apologize to each other when Mashiach comes? When Mashiach comes, Russia will be named Glasnostia. The U.S. will be named the Altered States. We'll be much, much less afraid when Mashiach comes. Africa will host the feast. Glasnostia will offer the benediction. The Altered States will receive an invitation when Mashiach comes. Israel will build settlements for endangered animals in reconstituted lands. The UN will declare that Zionism ain't all that bad. There will be no weapons in Jerusalem when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, whales and dolphins will send messages of congratulations. The only endangered species will be male chauvinist pigs. We'll still be allowed to kill mosquitoes when Mashiach comes. We'll proudly display our wrinkles. We'll notice each other's eyes. We'll dream less of other worlds when Mashiach comes. I want to share this with my mother. I wish my father had lived to see this. Will there be a resurrection when Mashiach comes? When Mashiach comes, we will wonder how long Mashiach intends to stay. We will try to be brave and stop weeping. We will forgive but not forget when Mashiach comes.
Julie, are you doing something?
Yeah, baby.
Julie? Are you doing, you want to?
At this moment? Yes. No.
Maybe later. Okay. Okay. Yeah, why is everybody standing? Yeah, why don't you sit down? Well, look, what we want to do now is open up the...
Things for anything people would like to share, like Iggy.
Yeah, now, if you have something nice to say, you have 5 minutes to say it. If you have a rebuttal, you just have 1 minute. So is there anyone here who would like to say anything or something? No?
We
No?
love you.
What?
Nobody.
Okay, then what we're going to move on to...
No. Give a minute.
You think?
What?
You have to give a little time. I would like to say something.
No, please do.
And I'm really sorry Annette isn't here, but I think she's here in the gardens here. Annette, whenever I think of Annette, I think of bunches of gorgeous flowers. And these grounds are to me, they're very much like Annette. And I'm sorry she's here. I'm sorry she's in the hospital. And I think we should have sent a delegation, and I think we would have if we thought she'd be up to it. But we like you too, Max. But I'm sure that there are other people who have things to say that he's going to get embarrassed. But I think that's good, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We're all sorry that Annette isn't here, and maybe on her 100th birthday, we'll have another one of these. And you know, we did have a wonderful little birthday party for her on her actual birthday, which was on March 25th. Mostly families and a few close friends, plus some of our very, very wealthy acquaintances.
Well, Glenn and I had the great pleasure to have dinner with Cheryl and Ken and talk about the Citizens Party days, and also talk about the fact that Glenn and I were married 25 years last summer, and Max and Annette were on their way to our party when they had a car accident, and Cheryl and Ken was on the way and saw them and helped them out, so the four of you missed our party. But the thing that we were talking about is that as long as we've known you and Annette, you've been retired. but that also our connection has to do with Edna and Cappy. Yes, Cappy and Edna, because Susan and Jed used to work at the hotel.
Exactly.
And the other thing that we were talking about, and the most important part of it, was that you know, we're now married 25 years. I turned 50 this summer, and it's nothing compared to where you guys have been, but also just how much you invested in us. And not just me and Glenn and Ken and Cheryl, but the Citizens Party back in the late 70s and the early 80s to try to create a third-party movement. And you and Annette and Henry and Gussie and Nat and Yet and I'm so bad at names. People we came with. But I mean, you know, it was right. It was significant. It was significant what you did. You gave the party money. You gave the party of your time and your experience. And we were young people trying to find a way to make the world different and better. And if it wasn't for you and Annette and all of your peers, we wouldn't have gotten to the places that we are right now, where each of us, and
really rather small, minuscule ways, which is one of the other discussions that we were having. We thought we'd have more impact at this stage in our lives. I just think
Your time is coming.
I think it needs to really be heralded because, you know, you gave us validation. You know, we had big idealistic ideas, and you and your peers, you and Annette and your peers gave us validation, and you helped us to know that what we were doing was the right thing, and that there were many different ways to get at it. And I just, you know, I've only known you for 25 years. People here have known you so much longer, but it means the world. You couldn't have done more with the resources that you had than to support people like us and people we don't even know in trying to make the world a better place. And thank you, and I miss Annette.
Here, here.
I gotta say a few words.
Come up. Come up here.
Say your name. My name's Rini. Did that do it?
No, the whole thing.
I get to do this, you see, because Annette, the wife of this wonderful man, was my mother's best friend. They were such good friends that I was born on Annette's birthday. So that was when I knew, you know, it was kind of, as a matter of fact, Annette went with my father to bring me home from the hospital because my mother was busy. But anyway, I just wanted to take an opportunity to expound a little bit on the last words that were shared, and just, you know, I come here, and I've been traveling here since I was probably a few months old, I would imagine, and making trouble ever since. And I just think that it's really important for me as a person to acknowledge and to share with anybody that I can, and my son in particular, this is all Greek to him, that not only the Citizens Party, but years and years of providing a place for people to go who might be a little different, who might think a little differently, who might want to do things a little differently, whose children now might think a little bit differently, and their children might be thinking a little bit differently. So it's a spider that goes to infinity, and for that we have gratitude.
Yeah, there are two people here who bring me back to way, way long ago with some of our very special friends. Heidi over here.
Where's Heidi?
Where is Heidi?
Heidi. There she is.
Oh, there she
Max,
is.
over this way.
Straight ahead,
And there she is. Heidi. And Rini, and it's, you know, that's a really very special part of this gathering here today. And thank you, Rini. Is there anyone else that would like to say some nice things?
That's why I stopped.
Okay, you know, Annette is not here, but I would have something that I would like to read to you about her. And I did this at a little party that I told you about where all the very wealthy friends were there. But some of you have heard this, but I've revised it a little bit. And if I stumble, you'll have to excuse me because I've made some changes, and we've been so busy the last few days I haven't had time to type it out. But type out the changes, so I may make some mistakes. But anyway, this is a saga of Annette Chait. Or you can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. It was a dark and stormy night. Not a star was to be seen, and the howling winds rattled the hospital window panes. It was the night of March 25th, 1917, and a baby girl burst forth into this veil of tears, protesting all the way. Two of the nurses in the room swore they heard her yell, "Put me back! Put me back!" So began the long and exciting journey of Annette Chait. A few years after that momentous night, little Annette decided she didn't want to grow up in the Bronx and convinced her parents to move to the country. And by the time she was 5 years old, she was plowing the fields, milking the cows, and plucking the chickens on the family farm. Soon, she was going to school, a one-room schoolhouse not too far from here. But getting to school was not like it is today. Oh no, there were no buses. So she walked 10 miles to a one-room schoolhouse. And after a heavy snowfall, by the time she got there, it was time to start back. But for her high school years, Annette was sent back to the Bronx, living with relatives. And by the time she was a sophomore in high school, she was a star of the varsity baseball, football, and track team. And even though she never had time for academics, she was accepted to Hunter College. But her spirit of adventure soon landed her in the wilds of Wisconsin. And one of her favorite courses at the university was anatomy. And it was then that she learned how to cut up the many men who were to follow her in her exciting life. We now fast forward to World War II and Washington, D.C., where in addition to working for the Office of Price Administration and meeting weekly with FDR, she was a volunteer plane spotter and was responsible for hundreds of enemy planes being shot down over Washington. And one of the things that she was most noted for, before FDR went to Yalta, she said to him, "Franklin, don't take any crap from those bozos." And when the war was over, Annette had the opportunity to work in Japan for the Army of Occupation. In addition to advising General MacArthur as to how to run the country, she had the time to teach the Japanese how to make cars and cameras and other interesting gadgets, TV sets and things like that. Returning from Japan, Annette went to work for the New York State Employment Service. But at a party, a fundraiser of course, she asked the hostess, who was that handsome, drunken bartender? Her friends told her it was Maxwell Finestone, also known as Max. He is really a charming guy, her friend lied, when he is sober. And very wealthy. Annette was swept off her feet on their first date. But a few weeks later, she asked her friend, "But if he is so rich, how come when we go out to dinner, it's Dutch treat? Or I have to pay because he doesn't have any money on him. And when he invited me to his apartment, it turned out it was his friend's apartment, and he was sleeping on the couch in the living room." "Oh, you know," her friend said, "he's probably having his duplex penthouse remodeled." And you know, these rich people, they are so eccentric. Shortly thereafter, Annette told her friend that when they were walking around the village, she had this strange feeling that someone was following them. "And when I look out my apartment window when he is visiting, there were usually a couple of guys in trench coats standing across the street. They are probably his bodyguards, his friend said. All rich people have bodyguards. Excuse me. Slight intermission. It didn't take too much longer for Annette to find out that the so-called bodyguards belonged to a secret society called the FBI. And not only was Max not rich, but he didn't even have a full-time job. However, he was so delightful. She decided to marry the bum anyway. And besides that, he was being kicked out of his friend's apartment and had to have a place to live. You know, one thing led to another, and soon, and what do you know, she was pregnant. And with little Laura, they had to move from the oversized closet that was their Greenwich Village apartment, and Annette soon found herself back in the Bronx. It didn't take long for her to get tired of Max hanging around the apartment all day, so she convinced him to go up to the country to help her parents with their little hotel. And a few years later, they all moved up there with Lisa and Laura, and Annette was back in the country to stay. Together, they built a fabulous pleasure palace with 500 rooms, 12 tennis courts, and an indoor lagoon for swimming and boating and water skiing. Each of the staff members had their own private rooms with baths.
Liar, liar.
And each of the teen staff members had an unlimited supply of marijuana and condoms. Is that true? And since they didn't want them to deface these beautiful new rooms, they had graffiti built in. Things like Che lives, Finestone steals our tips, impeach. There was always someone that had to be impeached. Anyway, a few years later, Annette and her wonderful husband acquired the adjoining luxury condo complex, sometimes called a bungalow colony. All of the apartments had indoor plumbing that worked most of the time. Isn't that true, Marcus? And they were all furnished with exquisite antiques. Even the mattresses were antiques. When, years later, they sold the hotel, and Annette pursued her interest in photography, and she had 5 exhibitions of photos she had taken in Japan many years before. And some of these were reprinted in a Japanese newspaper in Nagoya, and they interviewed her at that time, as a matter of fact. And in 1989, she was the oldest of 69 members of a women's convoy, women from all over the country, that spent 5 weeks delivering humanitarian aid to women's organizations in Central America and Mexico. And they raised right here in Ulster County thousands of dollars for this aid. And some of the people who are here today were part of that committee that did that. And had various vehicles that they drove all the way down to Nicaragua, and they left there for the Sandinista government. In addition to that, Annette has been involved in various political activities through the years and in many community activities. With the millions of dollars that they got from the sale of their hotel. And Annette and Max built a mansion high on a windy hill and traveled the world. And in the years to come, they lived in peace and harmony. And when Annette was interviewed on her 90th birthday by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Post, the News, the Bluestone Press, they asked her to what she attributed her long life, long and healthy life. So she said, when I was 13, I asked my father if I could smoke. But he said, no, I don't want you to smoke, but here I want you to try this. And what was it? It turned out to be bourbon. And she said, every day of my life since I was 13, before dinner, I've had bourbon. And she said, and in addition to that, we have had this wonderful marriage. We've lived in peace and harmony. And the only serious argument in 55 years that we've had is how to load the dishwasher. Thank you. Very glad that her condition has improved. Tremendously, and that she will be better, all well, and be back home in just a few days. And I know that all of you here extend your very, very best wishes to her.
And if you don't want to have another really serious argument, you should say the words that she wanted to say. Do you remember what they were?
Well, I know what some of the things that Annette would have said when I was, if she were here, and I've said them too. And our thank yous to so many wonderful friends that we've had, and so much help and encouragement and whatever we needed from so many people in our area. And, what do you? Speak up a little bit. Yeah. I wasn't talking loud enough.
That's better.
So
what would he do if he didn't have us to tell him what to do?
I don't know what else I have to say except once again, Annette and I, thank you so much.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you so much.
Max, happy birthday to
Laura has a toast.
Actually, Lisa and I wanted to say a few things, and we've been arguing about this for a little while. Well, we don't argue.
Deliberating.
We've been discussing and arguing. But we wanted to thank again, I don't know if Susie's still here, but she's sort of our standard caterer, wonderful caterer now, Susie and her team. And we have so many people to thank for all the support that we've gotten over the past few months. And I just wanted to, I guess, start by pointing a few people out. Just to start with David and Marla, our cousins from now Michigan. Marla, who made this incredible cake. Actually, she brought the ingredients from Michigan and baked it here for the party. So David and Marla, and where's David? And our Boston cousins, where are you guys? Are they still here? Did they leave? Well, they were here. And there you are.
You've come so far from home to be here.
And particularly, we had several invited guests and several party crashers today that were more than welcome. And that's the Chates gang.
Raise your hand if you know who you are.
You know who you are, Francis. And also, very special thanks to Ken and Cheryl and Katie for always being in the right place in the right time, the people that we pick up the phone and call. As a matter of fact, Lisa and I went to the hospital this morning to talk to the doctor at 7:30, and as we're walking along, we hear, Laura, Lisa, and there's Cheryl, like running behind us to be there with us to talk to the doctor. And Katie in particular for saving Max's life. If it wasn't for Katie, he wouldn't be with us today. And then also Vic and Ellen for coming from Maine, and Julie from North Carolina, my oldest, I'm sorry, I won't use that word, my dearest friend. And also for our extended, well, real family really, but we'll call you extended family, Josh and Paul and Julie and Lucille, and of course Eva and Michael, you're not extended, and Francis, and you know, just about everybody here actually, but and then really the biggest toast goes to you, Aunt Dorothy, for coming the farthest way and being the longest here, and being for all of us always, us two, our our nearest and dearest and greatest Aunt Dorothy, and our surrogate always, and also the stand-in for Annette today. We love you. And Lisa and I would like to say that we are so proud and privileged to have been raised by two such delightful, talented, and creative parents that we can call our own.
And any of you old Chatesnicks know that phrase from the publicity from Chates.
Parents who have always shown us such unwavering support and demonstrated a lifelong commitment to their family, their extended family, their community, our country, and the world. And to you, we toast and love you, and we thank all of you for being here with us today. And with that, enjoy cake and champagne, and thank you all so much for being here.
You're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where's the cake?
I smell it.
Cake is out. It's whoever wants.
The last 3 minutes.
What should I put on Bob Marley next?
What do you think, Bob Marley next?
Bob Marley.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good.
It's pretty special.